So, take us back to the beginning.
The beginning of my showbiz career?
The very beginning. Were your parents in showbiz?
My parents certainly were not. This is Stoke-on-Trent. Stoke-on-Trent is an industrial city. And my mum worked on the pot banks, as we called them, where they made the pottery. And my dad was a bricklayer.
Wow.
So that was my background. And as I was a child growing up in the 50s, rock and roll was just coming into being. And I used to watch the telly and I used to watch the singers of the day. And I wanted to be one of them. That was my feelings. And I thought everybody did. I was a huge Tommy Steele fan.
And you met Tommy Steele, but we'll go into that later.
I did. I met Tommy and I told him about it, how big a fan I was as well. And Cliff Richard just was coming into being at that time. And I was a huge fan of rock and roll. And I wanted to be a pop star. That was my idea, and I thought everybody did. But of course, you've got to be sensible, really. When you leave school, you can't say... We had a careers master come to the school and chat to us about... I went to an all-boys school in Stoke-on-Trent. And he said, what do you want to do when you leave school? And I wanted to say, I won't be... I mean, you can't really say you want to be a pop star, can you?
No, not in the 50s.
So, genuinely, I had to think about my life, and I joined the police force as a cadet at 16, straight from school into being a cadet. Now, Stoke-on-Trent, we're in Stoke now doing this, is a city made up of 6 towns. It's a strange city. It isn't like Nottingham or Manchester or Liverpool, which is a city in itself. This is a city made up of 6 towns, and I lived in the northernmost town of Stoke-on-Trent, and I was lucky enough to pass my 13 plus it was then, and I went to an all-boys school, and from then on I became a police cadet and joined the police force, because you've got to be sensible. Show business I thought of doing, and my background from showbiz as a kid, my dad played trombone.
So you were already in the business?
Well,
there. It was in the blood. It was in the blood.
And we also had an uncle of my mother's who they called Old Mose. And he had a big white beard, and he was a preacher. And he used to stand on the hills. We're going back to the 1800s now. And he used to preach. So he was that was some kind of show business, wasn't it?
Son of a preacher.
My mum told me about it. I didn't know Old Mose, of course, but my mum knew him as an uncle when she was a child. And she was born in 1912. So she remembered him from the old days. But he was the one that stood in front of an audience. So she tried to work out my connection to standing in front of an audience and talking to them, because although I've been singing for quite a long time, I started as a comic.
You did. Your very first times on the boards were really as a comedian, not as a singer. But you'd open with a song, maybe?
No, I finished with a song.
You finished with a song.
I can sing, but I'm not Matt Monro and I'm not Frank Sinatra and my heroes. And so I finished. Most comics got off with a song in my era. And when I started in the 60s, we told jokes. A man went in a shop, a bear was in the woods, a tortoise came out of the pond and did jokes, one joke after another. Then comedy changed during my time, where it became observational comedy. And I was very, very lucky. I started in the 60s.
How long were you a policeman, and did you do the job side by side?
No, I didn't. There's a fallacy. There's things being written about my police days that I started doing the clubs as a policeman. Well, I didn't. You weren't allowed to in the 60s. I was a copper in the 60s. They were good days. I remember somebody saying to me, in those days it was a good job, badly paid. Then it became a bad job, well paid. And I didn't do... after I left the police force, I was in a pub one night, and I'll go back to the beginning. I have a friend called Tony Braddock, God bless him. He went to Australia, he emigrated to Australia and did me a huge favour because I pinched his act. He was a comic, good comic as well. Told jokes, and he was a good comic. Compare at many of the local cabaret clubs. Cabaret clubs were just blossoming in the late 60s, early 70s. And Tony was a compare. And he was my mate, and I used to drive him to places, and I used to go and watch him, and I used to think, I can do that, I'm sure I can. But actually thinking you can do it and going and doing it is two different things. But my hero as a comic in the 60s was Bob Monkhouse. He was the comedian's comedian. I'd seen him work a couple of times. I'd seen Tarbuck work, and I modelled myself on Jimmy Tarbuck. He wore a waistcoat and put his fingers inside his waistcoat and nodded his head about like that and talked Liverpool Scouse and everything. Everybody's coming from Liverpool in the 60s.
Top comics, yeah.
Yeah, and brain's gone.
All right. So you stole the act from your friend and you modelled yourself on Jimmy Tarbuck, but you loved Bob Monkhouse. And I think later on, did you not meet Bob?
I met Bob many times.
I thought you did at Warner's.
I met Bob. Oh, no, I did the warm-up for the Golden Shot.
Oh, for the Golden Shot. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. As it happens, not when Bob was there.
Oh, who was it then?
It was Charlie Williams.
Charlie Williams from Doncaster.
From Doncaster, correct.
From Doncaster, like me.
And Anne Aston.
Anne Aston, yes.
Bernie the Bolt.
Bernie the Bolt. Lovely
and how
lady.
that came about was I was doing the Cresta Theatre Club in Solihull. And I was on with Edward Woodward, who can sing a bit.
Yeah.
He was a lovely, one of the nicest guys you could ever wish to meet.
Married to Michelle Detrice, was
Michelle Detrice. Well, he wasn't then.
Oh, right.
Not when I was working with him. He was eventually, yes, he was. And I worked with Edward Woodward. During the week, this television producer from ATV came in to see him because he was a friend of his, a guy called Les Cox. Les Cox produced The Golden Shot. He was producing The Golden Shot at the time. He saw me work on the Tuesday and the Thursday, and he invited me over to his table on the Thursday night. And he said, we haven't got a warm-up comic for the weekend this coming Sunday. What are you doing? What am I doing? I'm going to be at ATV Studios.
Of course you are.
I've never been in one before.
Wow, amazing.
And anyway, I went in to do that for The Golden Shot. And Les told me he was leaving The Golden Shot and he was taking on a new program with a new concept called New Faces. And he was going from that to that. And he said, when I'll be in touch with you when we start New Faces, he said, I'll give you a shout, which he did. So then I had to go and audition for New Faces. So that was in 1973. And I went to Wolverhampton, where I did an audition along with a lot of other people, and then I got a call to say, you're going to be on New Faces. And I found my contract for New Faces only a few weeks ago. And if anybody asked me, how much do you get for doing New Faces, which I won, which changed my life tremendously. Well, it didn't change my life. It was good for me.
Yeah.
It gave me a good summer season that season. And to put New Faces winner after your name was good, because a lot of people did New Faces. They put New Faces,
but they weren't the winners.
But a winner gave it that little bit more
More money per week.
Well, it did, gig. And I just found my contract for New, and I got £40, and I thought it might have been more.
Well, 1973, you said though.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, I was quite happy. I'd done it for nothing.
Yeah. So literally, you went from The Policeman to getting your act to Golden
Well,
Shot,
before
and then all of a sudden
there's things
New
happened
Faces.
before all that.
Did you have a pub?
Oh, that was later.
That was later.
It was not long after that, but prior to that, I learned my trade. I did a lot of talent competitions in the 60s, and then I did audition for the working men's clubs, and I did working men's clubs in the Midlands, Lancashire.
Up and down the country, really.
Everywhere. The working men's clubs in those days were predominantly northern.
And 7 days a week, I think. And afternoons.
Oh, you could do after. You were busy. I was on the road quite a lot. It was good. I was very, very fortunate, really. I was still working then. I'd left the police force and I went to work for English Electric at Kidsgrove, which is a local place here. And I was an inspector. And I inspected things. And genuinely, honestly...
You didn't know what you were doing?
Not a clue.
I knew that was coming.
And I had to stamp things, and they made millions of them.
And you knew no idea what you'd stamped?
Well, I got some idea, but I wasn't quite... I used to inspect these things. They were printed circuit boards.
Gosh.
And I was told... I learnt a bit about them, but I winged it more than anything.
So you have had, like, various day jobs over the years?
Only two.
Two. Policeman And then
English
the circuit
Electric.
boards.
Yeah, English Electric and printed circuit boards. And I did just 2 years there. And I started doing the working men's clubs. And the work at night time, I got so busy working at night time that I couldn't get up. And I was clocking on at 8 o'clock.
And if you'd been out travelling and by the time you get back...
And I was in Blackburn the night before, or Coventry or somewhere.
Too
drive
much.
back and then... And
you were comparing, I think, as well. You did a lot of comparing at the big clubs.
That was later. So I'm just doing... I did an hour of stand-up. So I came on, the band left me and left me on my own. And then they came back on a cue, my cue. I sang a song and that was it.
And you knew that was your time.
An hour... so the working men's clubs would want 20 minutes or what have you, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's difficult to get the momentum of your act in 20 minutes.
Exactly,
yeah.
You've got to follow yourself.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And working men's clubs were great grounding for me as a comic.
Have you died anywhere?
Oh, died many places. Paid off the whole situation.
Oh, paid off as well. Wow.
Oh, yes. If you haven't heard the North East, I heard all about the North East. God bless the North East. Did
you stay at the farm?
I didn't stay at the farm. I stayed at lots of places. I didn't stay out Red House. We used to do the North... I used to do the North East.
Like a 10-day run? Did you do go up and stay for a few days?
Oh, weeks.
Weeks.
A week, yeah. And you start Sunday lunchtime somewhere, work your way up. And I could guarantee the money was always good, but you knew you're never going to get it as a comic because you're going to get paid off at least twice.
Yeah. For
some reason. And invariably you'd do a double on the night. You'd be at a working men's club earlier, and then through the week at one cabaret club you'd be the star show at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in Whitley Beer. The Pickwick Club, Whitley Beer. I remember doing that one. And before that you'd do a working men's club. So you made your money up doing 2 shows per... Well, you do 2 venues per night. Yeah. You do two spots at a working men's club, get in your car and go to your late night one and do the late one.
So even if you'd been paid off somewhere, you could make up your money because you were doing so many of them?
Oh, you didn't get your money till the weekend.
Oh, you didn't get paid on the night?
There was what you call pickups, as we were.
No pickups.
There'd be no pickup. You'd be no pickup. So you go to a working men's club and you weren't picking your money up and you weren't picking it to pay your way because on your way home there were so many stories from comics going out to windows at the back. They used to call it the comedian's drop.
Because they didn't want to go out in front of the audience.
They wouldn't face the audience.
Yeah.
They got paid off and they'd climb out the window and drop into the car park and go and get in the car and be gone.
I think that still happens today, probably.
And I remember a mate of mine, a comic, who'd been paid off, and it was the days of the old sixpences that you used to put in the one-armed bandits. And he was on £10 for the night. And they'd emptied the bandits that day. And there was a bag full of sixpences on the table as they were paying him off, giving him £5 for his one spot. Why, they don't like you, get him paid off, you know. And he got a bag full of sixpences in his pocket. And as he was walking through the audience, they were playing bingo. And this guy tapped his pocket and said, "They paid you off." And he got his bag full of sixpences.
God, you got some stories, haven't you? You have done everything within the business, from the top to the bottom.
Oh, yeah, it's just been a merry-go-round. One night and I remember where it was, Whitburn and Marsden Club, God bless them, in Sunderland, near to Roker Park. I got paid off the night before. There was 3 acts on. Me, I'm topping the bill. There's a girl singer and a double act playing guitar, singing love songs to each other. And they get by because nobody listens to them. Then they just clap at the end. But the comic, of course, if you don't get laughs, you don't do very well. And I got paid off the night before. And I arrived at the club early just to acclimatise myself with Bernard Marsden. This guy came in with a badge on saying committee.
Oh dear.
And he said, "Who are you like?" And I said, "I'm Pete Conway." He said, "Are you the comic?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Are you good?" I said, "I make a living." He said, "You got to be good here, you know." I said, "We don't like your first fight, you get paid off." I thought, oh dear me. It's not a competition, this, you know, try to make you laugh. So I said, "I'll have a bet with you." He said, "What's that?" I said, "I bet you don't pay me off." And he went, "How do you know that now?" I said, "'Cause I'm going now." And I went.
And you just went?
Yeah, and I got in a lot of trouble with, it was Beverly Entertainment.
Beverly Entertainment, still going today?
Bob Depledge, God bless him, rang me at my hotel that I was staying at and said, what happened last night? I said, don't ask me, that's that fella that came and spoke to me. And those are things he had to put up with, really.
But they're in your memory forever, all these little paid off and running out the windows. And
yes. And
it's part of learning, isn't it? It's part of a learning curve.